This is the story of when I lived with Charlie Morgan for 1 month in Dubai and how it changed my life. Kind of. For a very long time, I used to watch online gurus. Alex Hormozi, Charlie Morgan, Iman Gadzhi, and I used to idolize these people because they always seemed to have something that I was never going to get. They always seemed to have a skill set or know a secret that I was never going to know. I would often think to myself, like, I wish I could just live with these people for a month and be around them and learn so I could become successful like them too. Fast forward 2 years, and it happened. I got to live with Charlie for an entire month in his house, and I got to see what really separates me, you, all of us from them, the top 1% performers in our world. And I think what I'm about to say is probably going to surprise you and maybe even shock you a little bit. Let's take it back to January 2024. I flew from Berlin to Dubai to live with Charlie and Bo for a month. And it was 9 o'clock at night when I arrived at their house, and I was greeted by Charlie at the front door with a big hug, lots of hellos, how have you been? And it was amazing. And I thought everything was going to change for me at this point. It was only a matter of minutes, not hours, when I learnt my first lesson, which is always meet your heroes because probably they're going to disappoint you. Now, I want everyone to relax. I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about Charlie and Bo. It is the complete opposite. And I say that because the common saying is always never meet your heroes because they're going to disappoint you. But I think it's the opposite. You should always meet them. Because as soon as I walked into that house, I realized that there isn't that much difference between me and these people. Yes, they are widely successful, and yes, they have things that I may never have, but at the same time, it humanized them. They're just people. They're just 26-year-old entrepreneurs just like me who have figured out something that I'm yet to figure out. And at the end of the day, it really gave me comfort that these guys kind of disappointed me in the best way possible. And I realized that for years and years and years, I put these people on a pedestal. So I had to watch them consistently and always trying to figure out what they could tell me so that I could achieve my goals. But it's the exact opposite. They can't tell me anything. They can't show me the way, and they're not going to be the messiah that's going to take me to hundreds and millions of dollars a month, because a lot of the time they didn't know how to get there, but they just didn't let that stop them. So the number one thing that I learned within minutes of arriving in that house was, damn, this is kind of disappointing. And that was my initial feeling, but it removed the chains from me that I don't have to look up to anyone. So there is no one above me, and I can just act the way that I want to act in accordance to how I want to achieve my goals. And I don't have to achieve anything to be like anyone else, because the outcome of what I thought I wanted or who I thought I wanted to be was kind of disappointing, because they're just Charlie and Bo. They're just my friends. They're just two people that gave me an amazing opportunity. But at the end of the day, when we're sitting on that veranda talking shit, I may as well be talking to any other 26-year-old. And that should really encourage you, in my opinion. And it really encouraged me. And that encouragement really brings me to my second point, the next thing that I learned. Now, I learned this thing probably on the second day, right? So after I get there, I settle in, we do a day of work, and we go sit on the veranda again. And I learned my second lesson by hearing their stories and hearing stories about other people in the space. The lesson I learned is, don't listen to everything that you hear on the internet. Because a lot of the time, the things that these people are telling you, they either did for a very small amount of time themselves, or they never really did. They've extrapolated a certain amount of understanding from a thing that worked for them that is going to blanketly apply to everyone else that they ever speak to. Now, that's not to say there are a few core principles that will help you succeed, 100%. And I'll get to those in a second. But really what I learned was what works for Charlie and what works for Bo isn't going to work for me. And that's the thing. They've disappointed me in terms of what I thought they were going to be. And in reality, it was actually, they're more than I ever could have imagined at the same time. Like, they disappoint me on one hand, on the other hand, it's more than I ever could have imagined because I can resonate and be friends with these people. But what they do is not what I want. So why would I spend hours and hours and hours, and why would you spend hours and hours and hours listening to these people, listening to me? What they tell you and what these people preach on the internet, I promise you, isn't necessarily what they do. It's just what they think is going to help you get the best outcome. So why not, instead of spending the hours and hours listening to them and studying them, why not spend those hours figuring out what works for you instead? Because that is going to get you significantly further than what they could ever tell you. Because if you just do what they do, you're always going to be one step behind. So I just realized, like, when I was sitting on that veranda on the Palm in Dubai, listening to their stories and what they did to get where they were, I was like, well, that doesn't apply to me. And that isn't something that I need to overcome. I have different challenges and different struggles that I need to overcome that they've never overcome, and vice versa. And I am my own person, so I shouldn't be listening to these people like their gospel. Sure, gurus help. Maybe some of my videos help. But at the end of the day, you're going to be significantly better off figuring it out for yourself and listening to the results that you get after you try something. And this went on for days. So basically what the routine looked like was we'd wake up, we'd get to work, maybe have a coffee out on the Palm. I'd train with Charlie some mornings. I'd start taking calls. We'd have lunch together. We'd take more calls. They would work. And then 9 p.m. we'd have dinner together and we'd sit down. The one thing that conceptually they do better than everyone else and that we can all take away from elite performers like this is their commitment to their outcome. These guys are elite. They are elite in one thing. They are elite in their commitment. When I say they do nothing else than study, work, grind, and push to achieve their goals, I am not mixing my words. It is quite unbelievable to see in reality the level of output that top 1% players have. And it is just about commitment. That rose my level of effort exponentially. And that is going to tie into the next thing that I learned, which is environment is everything. So you need to have an environment that facilitates commitment. So let me take it all the way back to when I was 20 years old. The environment around me was high school friends, drugs, alcohol, parties, girls, just fucking around. That environment did not facilitate my goal. And then I shifted into the gym, into CrossFit, into weightlifting, and that environment facilitated a certain outcome. But the environment that they created in this house creates a level of output that I've never seen before. And really, since being in that house, I haven't seen again. And I like to think that I work pretty hard, but these guys work extremely hard. Now, Charlie, love him, but Bo. When I tell you that Bo wakes up at 8 a.m. and I don't see that man again until 9 p.m., that is not a lie. I never saw him wear a different pair of clothes. He is just so committed and insulated in his environment. Now, it's no secret that Charlie and Bo did not really like living in Dubai. And funnily enough, that environment for lots of people can pull them out of that level of commitment. But for these two, it actually insulated them. They really didn't like where they lived. So they locked themselves in and just work. So rather than letting the environment pull you away, they insulated themselves into just producing a lot of effort. And that is a massive thing. If you are struggling with right now with doing the work, I would say that at least 50% of that struggle comes from the environment that you are in. Environment facilitates everything. So if you are in a situation right now where you're struggling to do the work, if you can just change your environment and then insulate yourself into that environment, you're going to be able to make a massive difference to the output that you can have. Now, the really interesting aspect of all of this, and the thing that I feel like I struggle with, and maybe that we all struggle with, is how valuable time really is. These guys save time wherever they can. Convenience is everything to them. And I say that when I talk about what was in their fridge, the cooking equipment that they use, the fact that they had cleaners, they buy water bottles. There is not a single piece of wasted time in their day. And it wasn't about scheduling and it wasn't about productivity apps. It was about creating, again, an environment conducive to efficiency. So anything that could be outsourced, and I'm not even talking about the business, anything that could be outsourced that would create convenience so they didn't have to leave the house to go to the grocery store. They get the groceries delivered. They would do it. Now, obviously, I understand that a lot of people watching this don't have the money to do that. But there are a few things that you can do right now that are going to make your time more efficient. Number one, eat the same thing every day. Plan at the start of the week, go to the grocery store one time and eat the same thing for every meal, every single day. You're probably going to get more shredded and you're going to save a lot of time. Number two, as soon as you have the ability to hire a cleaner, you should hire a cleaner. The amount of time that you can save by having a cleaner and having someone look after your space, again, your environment, that is going to accelerate your effort and the ability to do work is massive. Number three, wear the same thing every single day. I know this is such a played out entrepreneurial piece of advice, but it's true. Wear the same thing every day. It reduces choice, it reduces washing. You just basically have to become a robot to a degree to be at this level. And to be at this level, you need to be held accountable, which is going to bring me back to the last thing that I learned. Probably one of the most astounding things that I learned from Charlie and Bo. Partnerships accelerate growth exponentially. They would hold each other accountable. They would give each other advice. They would talk about business nonstop. I'm not joking. We would literally stop work probably at 8, 9 p.m. every single night. We would eat together and we'd sit on that balcony veranda for at least 2 hours every night, just talking about mindset, just talking about business development. They just had an undying commitment to their goals. That's it. They can talk about the productivity stuff, they can talk about the mindset stuff, but they still struggle, and everyone does. This isn't just calling out Charlie and Bo. Everyone, they still struggle with similar things that we all struggle with. But the ability to have someone with you to talk through this stuff who's going through the same journey and really understands it at a level that maybe no one else will. Like they would always joke that they're in a relationship, not a business partnership. And that's true. Like they supported each other, they carried each other, they hold each other accountable and just push each other further. And that's something that I've really, really looked for and found recently. Someone to hold me accountable and push me further, because you can achieve a lot by yourself, but you can achieve significantly more with someone else who's like-minded. So if you are feeling alone in this journey and you're struggling and you feel like you need accountability, yeah, you can do a lot to figure that out for yourself. But if you know someone or can find someone who thinks like you do and wants the same things that you do, the level of output, again, that the two of you will produce is exponential to what you would produce on your own. And it was really a beautiful lesson, in my opinion, that we can go far by ourselves, but a lot further with someone else. So those are really the main things that I learned from Charlie and Bo. And we had some great times together. And don't get me wrong, like these guys still do stuff every now and then. You know, I was probably there for a month. We went out and did fun things, maybe 3 times. There is a very small amount of balance in their life, but it's overwhelmingly geared towards winning. And I think that it's an undeniable truth that if you want to be good at anything, you have to be geared like that. And through the conversations and through the time that I spent with them, they imparted one very impactful thing on me. They didn't say it in words, but I could sense it and I could feel it from the way they carried themselves. The biggest difference between them and us is that they never let doubt or fear get in the way of them achieving their goals. Nobody, not even themselves, their internal voice is going to get in the way of them doing what is necessary to achieve their goals. Now, where that comes from, Charlie has spoken about this a lot, these insecurities, these past experiences, a lot of people try and hide away from these things. But these types of individuals, in my experience, they push into them. They use those things to be overwhelming and almost combat the fears and the doubts. And no one is going to get in their way. It doesn't matter who they are or what they say, these two will do whatever it takes to win. And that is the biggest difference between me and them and you and them and all of us. If you can take away one thing from this today, it's that we are all the same. Me, you, Charlie, Boat, we're all just people. And you should never let fear get in the way of achieving the goals that you want. Because at the end of the day, you are going to regret it. And if they can do it, you can do it. And that is something that I think I preach a lot on this channel. It is just the facts. There is nothing different between Iman Gadzhi and you. There is nothing different between Charlie Morgan and you. Nothing different between me and you. And that should be extremely encouraging. Because I promise you, you will meet these people and it will be disappointing and it will set you free forever. I'm never going to be scared that I'm not good enough anymore, because none of us are and none of us will be. So don't let them sell you a dream, but also don't let these online influencers ever make you feel like you're not going to be good enough, because at one point they were just like you. We all were. So I really hope this video encourages you to do whatever you want to do. Just do it and don't let anything get in the way. And if you fail, you just try again. One day, this isn't going to exist. So you may as well try anyway. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoy that one. Please subscribe if you like this content, and I'll see you guys on the next one.